Welcome back to McCarthy Performance. Today I'll be doing a repair on my Rottler f2b boring bar. This is the bottom seal out of the bar, and I was boring some aluminum, and this was leaking a little bit before, and I didn't really know where it was coming from until I was doing some aluminum, and it pretty much wrapped around it and opened up the seal. So we're replacing it with a replacement seal. And I took a milk jug and cut a piece out of it and sanded the edges, and I'm going to wrap that around the bar, hopefully to aid in installing the seal and making sure that the lip doesn't flip over backwards and knock the spring out of it. So that's what I got going on today. So I'd take the head off the machine, and I found a big puddle of oil underneath it. This is between the bar and the boring head, the production head that I have on this machine. So there's a seal that went in there, and I just showed it to you. And I took a O-ring tool with a hook on it, and I just reached up in there carefully, popped it out, and used a little screwdriver to get the old one out. Now I'm going to try to attempt to put the new one in, and I have direction on this. I'm going to try to use this piece of plastic, wrap it around inside here to make sure that I don't tear the seal lip up. And I guess I put a little bit of lubricant on the wrong side, but that's okay. We put it on the other side. Oil this up. There wasn't an extreme amount of press on that outer seal, thank God, because it'd be a real bugger to get in. But that's it. The hardest part of the whole deal is probably going to be putting the fingers back in the head, but a little piece of aluminum, and I'll just lightly tap around there and make sure it's fully seated. But I was getting a little bit of oil dripping off my production head, my boring head off this machine. I never really knew where it was coming from until I was cutting some aluminum, and one of them wrapped around it, and I had a great big puddle of oil under the machine. So I could obviously see where it was coming from. Took the aluminum out. So when I put the head back on this machine, and when I do any wiry material like aluminum, when I cut it, it's going to come off in pieces that are basically like this. I'm going to probably wrap some 2-inch tape or something. It doesn't go very fast. I could probably put a hose clamp on that just to keep the aluminum from getting between the head and the boring bar. So I'm going to lightly tap that in a little further. Just had a little bit of the lip pop up, and I just pushed it back in with the screwdriver. So I ordered 2 of them seals. They weren't very much, so if it leaks tomorrow, I'll know what the deal is. I have to be more careful. Thought I was doing pretty good there for a minute, but hey, stuff happens. happened was there's a gap right here, and that's where the seal is, so gotta make sure that we put something on that so this won't wrap up in there. I'll tighten that up. Okay, so what I did is I slided a hose clamp down just a little bit lower than the boring bar, just down to the production head. It isn't catching it. So I think because you know, this is spinning, and when I bore the aluminum, it's not going to catch up in there, but we'll give her a whirl and see how it works. But I don't know what else to do other than put maybe a oversized rubber O-ring in there, but I think in time it's going to wear out. This isn't a problem if you bore iron, but with the aluminum it comes out stringy. So to keep the seal from leaking again, that's my thought on that. I ran the bar and everything and filled it up with oil, and it seems like it isn't leaking, so hopefully the seal is going to be good. But this is what I'm going to try. So like I said, I just brought it down enough just so, you know, you can't get any pieces of aluminum won't wrap around the bar, and that's kind of the whole deal about this. Is why it, I think, was leaking a little bit, but having that aluminum wrapped around the seal didn't help it any. Okay, we got the boring bar degreed in. I think you've seen me do that before. I was having problems with the head jumping around a little bit. This is an air float. I think it needs to be cleaned better. We had a lot of moisture in the shop, and the tabletop did get a little rusty. But she's good where she's at right now, so I'm going to finish this job up and then probably take the bar off the table and clean it. So getting back to this, I'm going to slip this clamp down to cover that up. I had to move it out of the way to get everything trimmed in. So we're going to set that there. I got the bar set up for a 30 thousandths pass to cut that boring bar out, or the boring bar, the deck plate for the Subaru. This was set up for the small bore, and now we're starting to do large bores. I guess if we go back and do a lot of small bore stuff, maybe I'll get another deck plate. So we'll set it up, all set up, see how she cuts. Okay, we're under a thousandths. Looks like she moved a little bit. I'll tap it around. Locked. Yeah, moved quite a bit. Might have to see what that I gotta clean out that lock on that cable lock. Moving all over the damn place now. Two thousandths. It should be about close. Wow, it's jumping a lot. I'm gonna have to adjust the lock on this thing. Went to the hardware, got a oversized O-ring to fit in the groove to fill that void up so the aluminum couldn't get in there and work on the seal. I'm boring out this deck plate, obviously, like I said before. I was going to put a hose clamp on it, but the actual hose clamp was going to hit inside the bore, so I couldn't use that. But this is doing all right. I've got a little hook here, so I'm just carefully making sure that the chips don't gather up too much around the bar. This is aluminum, so yeah, obviously you don't want to hook the cutter, and I don't recommend doing this, but I'm doing it. If it does hook the cutter, it will break the end off the rod. It won't pull it in, wrap it around the bar, so you want to be careful. But it's catching them and hooking them, and it's keeping it from wrapping around my seal. I don't always use the boring bar to open up deck plates, but occasionally that I have to, and I do. And now that I know that there's a seal down the bottom of that bore, and it can, the tips can affect it, or the curls off the aluminum can affect it, I'm going to be more careful of that. The boring bar seems to be doing pretty good. I filled her up. I've been running it. I've made about 4 passes in this already. I got to open this up quite a bit, over 100 thousandths. So far, so good. No oil leaks or anything. So this is going to be a quick little video. If anybody's got a Rottler f2b and they're experiencing a little bit of oil coming out of the boring bar or dripping down off the cutter, there is a seal in there, and it's not that hard to replace it. I've pretty much done everything on this bar. I've had it completely apart. I've re-bearinged it. I've worked on the detents on the top head and silicone brazed them up and did a bunch of work to this thing. And it wasn't bad before, but it runs a lot better now. They're not a hard machine to work on. You just got to take your time. I know some guys don't like taking the top head apart, but I've had this machine completely apart, and I really like the machine. So, and this is a little bit tighter than the actual dimension, so you can see that it popped out of there. It should be down here. So, you know, you just kind of got to keep an eye on that and make sure that some of it doesn't drop in there. But that's about as best I can do with that. There's nothing in there right now. I had nothing in there at all, and it just packed right up. So I hope somebody gets something out of it. If anything, you'll at least learn that there is a seal down here if you've never had one of these boring bars apart. So at least you know that. So thank you for watching my videos, and we're finishing up on the 283, and then I'll be getting on a 565 supercharged big block, and we decided to go with a brand new block. So there'll be plenty of that going on, prepping the big M block and fitting the lifters and all that good stuff. So thank you for watching.